Around the world, a generation is rising up, demanding urgent action on the climate emergency. Trouble is, no one seems to be listening. My name's James Levelle. I'm a filmmaker and adventurer.
Category 2 hurricane!
I've seen for myself how destructive climate chaos can be. But jetting around the world, I'm part of the problem. And I want to do something about that. I'm traveling from the UK over 9,000 miles to Chile,
fossil fuel free,
on a mission to see the climate crisis through the eyes of the next generation, whose future is most at stake.
I'm gonna hit the ground, meet them,
Enchanté.
and amplify their voices in a film that I'll deliver to the United Nations Climate Conference in Chile.
If I can get there in time.
Here we go!
No planes. No petrol.
Off-roading in my little electric car.
No emissions.
This has to be the biggest story in the world. It's a race for the future.
It's kicking off now. Yes!
On my adventure so far,
You are not gonna believe this.
I set sail on the bark Europa on a 6,000-mile trip across the Atlantic Ocean. I got a taste for sustainable farming in Tenerife.
So I'm just going around and eating all your food.
We've got a storm coming that threatens to stop us in our tracks.
I risked my life to keep the ship and my mission on track, only to be dealt a devastating blow.
The COP25 UN Climate Conference in Chile has just been cancelled.
But after meeting climate activists in Uruguay,
Try to make all voices heard. That's the most you can do for us.
I'm determined to deliver the youth climate messages any way I can.
This is my opportunity to help amplify their voices.
So this is the end, sadly, to my really quick stay in Montevideo, Uruguay.
The bigwigs at the UN may have moved to Madrid, but a citizens' climate festival in Chile will still go ahead at the same time, which leaves me only 3 weeks to get from one side of the continent to the other.
I must keep moving, because I really am in a race against time. Next stop, Buenos Aires, Argentina.
To get to Buenos Aires, my options are limited. There's no time to cycle the 365 miles up and around, and chartering a sailboat across the Rio del Plata is too expensive.
So I'm actually heading back to the port of Montevideo right now to see if I can get on a rather unusual boat.
Yesterday, Clara from Fridays for Future suggested I take the Bouet bus, a hydrofoil ferry powered by natural gas. So for the first time, I'm choosing fossil fuel transport.
Breaking the rules. Said I wasn't going to travel with fossil fuels. Certainly not deliberately, but doing so for a bloody good reason. The most important thing is that I get to Santiago on time.
Francisco Bouet bus emits around 20% less CO2 than ships burning heavy fuel oil, and emits no air-polluting particulates. Out of a bad bunch, natural gas is the cleanest and most carbon-efficient option. I check in with carbon footprint expert Mike Berners-Lee.
If you're going to use fossil fuel, then gas is probably your cleanest and most carbon-efficient one to use. Comparing gas to oil, the gas, when you burn it, has less direct pollutants other than the CO2, and you get more energy per unit of carbon dioxide emissions from gas than oil. So, it has some merits, but going forwards, we need to cut out the shipping industry's very significant carbon footprint.
Yes, it creates CO2. I will calculate my footprint for this journey on this boat. But right now, this is how I've got to get to Buenos Aires.
Buenos Aires is the capital of Argentina and its biggest city, covering a greater area of 1,500 square miles and home to over 15 million people.
So this is it. Crunch time. I've got to find some way to get across Argentina super, super quick. Everybody has made it abundantly clear that cycling country roads here is incredibly dangerous. The truth is, motorists here are not that used to cyclists, and they're sure as hell not used to cyclists on the major roads between towns. And it's very easy along those dead straight, boring roads to actually lose concentration and not spot a cyclist that you're not expected to see anyway.
It's over 700 miles from Buenos Aires to Mendoza by the Chilean border.
My best bet, which is still a massive punt, is to try and find an electric car here in Buenos Aires and drive it to Mendoza. And that's proving really, really tricky.
Electric vehicles are relatively new to Argentina, and whilst they do exist, charging points for most of my route west do not. So the car companies who do have electric vehicles believe this journey is impossible.
But I may have a lead.
Whilst I wait to hear back about the car, I'm off to meet the young climate activists powering change in Argentina.
Hola.
Hola.
How do you guys feel about the cancellation of the UN climate conference in Chile?
Though it's been moved, it's still important that you project these kids' voices and that you meet all these youth that are doing so much for climate change, but oftentimes go unseen.
My biggest hope for the youth climate movement is to stay together, to act behind science.
We need to change the way we eat, the way we produce energy.
It's our duty to protect our Earth.
Otherwise, everything will be lost.
There's no way out, there's no planet B.
Next, I'm heading to the brand new headquarters of Extinction Rebellion, Argentina.
Hola!
A non-violent protest movement that uses civil and economic disruption to pressure governments into change.
Cool space.
But first, they've got to transform this building site into a communal area to plan climate action and host events.
It seems to me you've probably got a lot of work to do to get it ready. Can I help you guys?
Yes.
Yeah? You want me to put up some shelves?
Yeah.
Okay. This is the Argentinian way, huh? Drill a couple of holes and then have some mate.
Now we're gonna fix the roof.
Now you want me to fix the roof? Oh my goodness.
Buzzing from my mate tea, I spot an image of school strike leader Greta Thunberg pinned to the wall.
What's the deal with this Greta flyer?
Here in Argentina we have the election time for choose a president. Nobody represents us, so we choose a fake candidate like Greta.
None of the presidential candidates represented you guys at all.
Nobody talks about the emergency, the climate emergency. Here we have what we call is Vaca Muerta, fracking.
Yeah.
So every candidate is promoting Vaca Muerta.
And why, in your opinion, is the fracking, the Vaca Muerta, not the solution?
The damage this process did to the environment is terrible.
Argentina sits on some of the largest unconventional oil and gas reserves in the world. Fracking is currently the only way to get to it. For a cash-strapped nation, you can see the appeal, creating jobs, becoming energy self-sufficient. But not only does fracking violate land rights of indigenous people and fuel the climate crisis, the drilling requires such colossal investment that Argentina is now in even more debt. With billions lost already, the government is like a losing gambler, refusing to quit.
The system does not work. It's really, really unfair.
What we decide is to transform that sadness into action.
Next morning, an emission-free miracle. An electric car is being readied for my Argentine road trip.
This is a really exciting moment. I'm about to meet the electric car. It's going to get me all the way from Buenos Aires to Mendoza. That is awesome. Look at this. Can get the bikes in there, the bags.
The catch is, there are almost no charge points on the 700-mile journey from Buenos Aires to Mendoza. Charging the car directly from the mains takes over 12 hours. But I'm in a race against time, so electric wizard Roberto has created a solution.
We're bringing our own official charging point with us.
This portable charger connects to any industrial plug socket and provides a full charge in about 3 hours.
This is about as exciting as it gets. I'm literally about to be the first person to make this trip in an electric car.
Any problem you have, call us.
Hasta luego! I can't believe it. This is nuts. This is insane. Here we bloody go. Leaving the city limits of Buenos Aires now. The electric car. Going for a world first. Buenos Aires to Mendoza, over 1,000 kilometers. It's a very finely tuned operation, this.
Electric road tripping requires proper planning, a lesson I learned back in Spain.
We have full-on alarms going off. This is bad news. So I'm stuck on a hillside, 2 kilometers from the charging point.
If I power out in Argentina, it's game over. So I've made sure stops are no more than 100 miles apart, and I found locals with industrial power sockets in each location.
So this is the first stop.
Oscar. ¿Cómo quedaste? Bien, ¿cómo estás? Bien, vos, bien. Mucho gusto. Amigo.
Oscar has kindly offered to let me charge the car in his local shop.
This is great. So it's cargando.
Bien.
Bueno.
My first charge is seamless, and 3 hours later, I'm ready to roll again.
Adios. Gracias.
Right, stage 2. Here we go.
"90 miles later, I make my next stop, but there's a problem.
We are rewiring the electrics of the entire electrical store right now.
My charger's plug doesn't fit. So Eduardo is wiring the cables directly into the industrial power circuit.
Hopefully we don't burn anything up.
Don't try this at home.
Yes, charge number 2 underway.
My journey has attracted a local news crew, so whilst I wait, I plug my mission.
Tenemos aquí una colaboración increíble.
And soon, I'm fully charged for my next leg.
I've met so many wonderful people today. Everybody's been so welcoming. That's a message from Pedro. I don't know Pedro from Adam, he doesn't know me. He's just invited me to dinner with his family and to stay in his house. Magic, absolute magic.
After 230 miles, I close in on my last stop of the day, the village of San Gregorio.
In 300 meters, your destination will be on the right.
Pedro?
Pedro.
Mucho gusto.
The car can charge in the garage, whilst Pedro and his family treat me to some good old Argentinian hospitality.
Hola.
Sí. Hola.
¿Qué tal?
Un WhatsApp.
Hola.
Misty morning here, early in San Gregorio. Car is charged overnight, so looking good.
Before I continue my journey west to Mendoza, Pedro has asked if I can stop by the local school and show the electric car to the students.
Super selfie.
Very good, very good.
Very good. This is amazing. The entire school has come out to meet the car and hear about the adventure. Para tener éxito, tiene que ser una colaboración de todos los argentinos en esta ruta. Cuando trabajamos juntos, podemos hacer todo.
Muchas gracias.
De nada, muchas gracias.
Despite my dodgy Spanish, fortunately these students are big fans of green technology. They're already developing their own recycling and solar-powered projects.
We work together for change the world.
High five to that.
Que en estas comunidades pequeñas, de pronto los jóvenes no tienen tantas oportunidades para conocer gente que se preocupe por el futuro del planeta, porque eso realmente va a asegurar que las generaciones futuras tengan vida en este mundo tan hermoso.
¡Todos por el clima!
Adios! You want inspiration, you want the reason why I'm doing this. That is it in a nutshell. That was amazing.
Even in remote communities, the next generation are not only clued up about the climate crisis, they're taking action. My morning at school means I'll only make another 2 stops today as I race on to the town of La Carlota. But I'm now deep into Argentina's vast agricultural heartland.
Wow! Perfecto! Excelente!
As the sun sets on day 2, a crowd of curious locals welcome me to town.
Everyone seems really fascinated to see the car, which is very exciting. It's quite cool to rock up somewhere and have people so enthused.
Day 3 of my zero-emission road trip. In Argentina's Pampas, horses are the transport of choice for gauchos. But they're no match for my 59 horsepower electric motor. I'm halfway to Mendoza. 2 more successful stops today and I'll reach the first public charging station by nightfall.
I've got a deadline. I need to get across Argentina bloody quickly.
Excelente!
Otherwise, I'm not going to make it to Santiago de Chile in time to deliver the youth climate action messages. Project will be a failure. I cannot afford to let that happen.
Night falls long before I've made it to the public charge point.
I'm having to drive through the night, completely exhausted.
Vehicles eléctricos. Wow, that's a sight for sore eyes. Holy moly.
After almost 500 miles without a charging station.
Yes!
From here, public charge points line the road and the finish line is in sight.
I think about 160 k's out from Mendoza. So I think I'm gonna conk out here under this tree, sleeping by the roadside.
As I approach Mendoza, my next big challenge greets me on the horizon.
Whoa! The Andes, the last barrier between me and Santiago de Chile. It's right there, I can see them. They are absolutely enormous. And I've got to get up them on a bike, fully loaded with clothes, supplies, food, drink. I'm not in top shape.
A couple of days ago, I had no idea I'd even be making my way to Mendoza on a trip that nobody has ever done before, in an electric vehicle that most of the people have never seen in their lives. It's a really cool opportunity to get people thinking about the environment.
Sadly, I can't drive the car to Chile. It's a 10,000-foot high climb over the Andes, and the mountains are too remote for charge points. So it's pedal power from here on.
I never thought I'd get emotional about a car.
Thank you so much.
Mission accomplished. I am officially the first person to ever drive an electric car all the way from Buenos Aires to Mendoza, which is a pretty good feeling.
Mendoza is renowned worldwide for its wine, but they may soon wish they could turn wine into water. The city is suffering from its 7th consecutive year of drought.
This is the river Mendoza that I'm next to here.
and it's flowing really poorly. Climate change has massively affected snowfall and the ice melt that this river and this region depends on. This winter, there was barely any snow up in the mountains. The glaciers have already gone. They're not coming back. They need everything they can get here in Mendoza from the mountains to irrigate and ultimately hydrate the town.
The river levels are so low that every drop of water is now diverted to the city. Beyond this dam, the River Mendoza is dead.
To the south, fracking operations use huge amounts of water, making the battle for this vital resource even more desperate.
Local environmental groups are contesting the industry's expansion in the region.
They say it's a good transition energy, but it's not. We want to go to clean energy, so we are fighting fracking here, and we are fighting a giant. Fracking wells take up to 3 million liters of water, of fresh water, after 10 years of drought, and that can't happen here in Mendoza.
It's absolutely bonkers to think of all that precious water being wasted on fracking and then contaminated. This is a poignant location, I think, to be passing through on this adventure, putting the climate crisis in perspective.
The threat to Mendoza's precious water supply is meeting fierce resistance from local youth activists.
What is the really big thing that is worrying you most here?
One word?
Yeah.
Water.
Water. Water. It's really impressive. These guys are at the very beginning of the movement, the climate change movement here in Mendoza. But it's a very, very, very real problem to them, clearly. The water crisis here is massive.
We cannot rely on everything that we used to rely, just survive. You know, it's a very genuine fight.
No contamines, no conectabes, no se negocia, el agua es Mendoza.
Our glaciers are melting, our rivers are getting dry. Please protect our most valuable resource. Say no to fracking.
So this is it, the big cycle challenge. I'm leaving Mendoza now. Got the vineyards behind me. I'm starting to see those massive mountains looming very, very large. Woohoo!
My plan, cycle from Mendoza to Santiago in 3 days. But standing between me and Chile is the highest mountain range outside of Asia, the Andes. Rising to an average height of 13,000 feet, the magnificent snow-capped peaks are severely reduced, and many of the glaciers have melted as a result of climate change.
Entering what they call the pre-Cordillera, the sort of pre-Andes. This is the warm-up, and I'm already feeling it. The real challenge is still very much yet to come.
Whoa!
This artificial lake is Mendoza's main source of drinking water. It's the lifeblood of the entire city. Wow! And all its surrounding agriculture.
If that lake disappears, then Mendoza is over and done with. Prohibido bañarse. Do not swim. Swimming forbidden. We're not even at the end of the summer. This is kind of like beginning of summer, end of spring, and it's dried up. Really, really bad news. They're in a very, very serious drought here. If that's not evidence of climate change, then I don't know what is. I'm cycling through the most spectacular landscape right now.
But there's danger here I hadn't foreseen. Trucks. On a busy day, as many as 1,200 trucks pass through the Paso de los Libertadores. Many are more than 60 feet long. and way too close for comfort.
I feel like I'm cycling for my life. These trucks are non-stop.
It's not fun when they blast past and almost suck you under their wheels.
After 2 terrifying days of cycling, I make it to the village of Puente del Inca, near the base of Aconcagua, the highest mountain in the Western Hemisphere.
Time to take a break. Sun's up. Big day today. This is the last stretch of the main road.
After 10 miles of climbing, I'm faced with a stark choice. A narrow 5-mile tunnel through the mountain, or an 11-mile dirt track up and over a 12,500-foot high mountain pass.
There is not a snowball's chance in hell I'm going through those tunnels.
That is a death trap. Death by truck.
Taking on the summit. I don't even know whether my legs can hack it, but it's got to be done.
I'm taking the high road to meet Christ the Redeemer.
This is where the challenge really begins. I've got to make it up and over the switchback off-road route to Cristo Redentor, Christ the Redeemer. And let's just hope I'm in the Saviour's good books, because this is going to be one hell of a climb.
With the road closed, I can forget the trucks, but there are new dangers ahead. "11 miles of steep hairpin turns, no guardrails, loose rocks and landslides.
This is the final hurdle. The last great barrier in my way before I get to Chile. Time is running out. I cannot afford to lose a minute. This track is bumpy, the terrain is uneven. The old landslide, I would not want to be caught in that, cycling like this. That wheel keeps slipping. It just takes it all out of me. Time to dig deep. Come on, Jimmy!
This is the highest and most challenging ride of my life. As I near the summit, a wall of wind hits me head on, pushing me to my absolute limit.
Oh, yes! Oh, I've done it. I can't believe it. Oh, look at that view! The crazy thing is I don't have much time to hang around here. Let's go.
From the top of this mountain pass, there's only 100 miles between me and my final destination, Santiago.
Bye Argentina. Hello Chile. Downhill all the way. Let's go!
In the Anthropocene.
Yeah! Woohoo!
In the Anthropocene. What does you
Survived the caracoles, the dirt, track switchbacks on the Chilean side. Hell of a ride, fantastic fun. That is the end of the Death by Truck tunnel. So back onto the tarmac. Time to speed to Santiago.
Santiago is the capital and largest city in Chile. I had planned to present the youth messages I've collected on my journey here to the UN COP25 climate conference. The UN COP is the decision-making body responsible for implementing climate change policies and holding member states accountable. But anti-government protests have led to the UN relocating the meeting to Madrid. Fortunately, a citizens' climate festival will go ahead in its place. Thousands of people will be attending, so I need to talk my way into presenting the film on the biggest stage I can find. First though, I want to see the Santiago protests for myself.
So the protests here in Santiago have been continuing for over 50 days now.
An estimated 1 million people have taken to the streets to protest increased living costs, low wages, environmental abuses, and social inequality.
There is a lot going on here. There's graffiti all over the city denouncing Piñera, president. Lots of slogans denouncing the cops, or Pacos, as they call them. Another slogan here, basta de abusos, enough of the abuse.
I head straight for the heart of the action in Plaza de Italia, or as the protesters have renamed it, Plaza de Dignidad, Dignity Square. There's a fun festival atmosphere, but the police here use tear gas, so I'm wearing a face mask just in case.
This is me. I'm right here now near Plaza Italia. This here is the reason why the climate conference was cancelled and moved to Madrid. We've got armed police down there with tear gas being thrown. One of those projectiles comes and hits you in the face. You're going to feel it, possibly even lose an eye. Not really a very safe situation. But I, for one, have never seen anything quite like this. Things getting quite tense here. It's kicking off now. Police are firing projectiles. Backing up.
Clashes with police here have killed at least 27 protesters and injured well over 2,000, with many being blinded by rubber bullets.
Got people here taking care of each other, spraying, trying to get the tear gas out of people's eyes. I can feel it now in my throat. It's burning.
I head to the safety of the main square to find out what reasons people have for protesting.
These guys protesting about water rights. Here in Chile, they've privatized water. Some of the rivers and water sources are actually owned by corporations, which, if you ask me, is crazy. That's why these guys are here protesting. They want none of it.
20-year-old Felipe is a member of Extinction Rebellion. The banner reads climatic and ecological emergency. With poorer people being more adversely affected by climate change than the rich, they are hoping, through their protest, to draw attention to the link between social justice and environmental justice.
They're out here on the streets. They're making their voices heard, their big Extinction Rebellion banner. We've got people protesting social justice, environmental justice, climate justice, human rights, women's rights.
And as evening approaches, the protesters really get their groove on.
That truck is clearly the place to be. Getting on it. Felipe, you just telling me how every single Friday they're coming out here with the band, getting people pumped. The turnout here is enormous. It's a Friday evening, and you've got people from all sorts of walks of life here. Creative protest. Wow, COP25 might not be here anymore, but this is something else entirely. Very powerful display of popular support for social justice and environmental justice here in Chile.
My message to the government is stop taking care of the personal interest of the private industry and start taking actual care for your people.
Respect our dignity.
Before the People's Climate Festival kicks off, I want to offset the emissions I produced on this journey. I've met up with my friends at the World Wildlife Fund to help reforest this hillside on the outskirts of Santiago.
I need to plant some trees, Constancia. On the trip, my challenge was to travel fossil fuel free, yeah? But there were a couple of times where it wasn't possible and I had to use a little bit of fossil fuel. So I need
to offset that.
To offset that. So planting trees is got to be one of the best ways of doing that, no?
Yes, it's one of the best. All these people here, their goal is to plant 15,000 trees.
There he goes, little nipper. Look at him, 5 trees in his bucket. Bloody show off, and he got 3.
Offsetting isn't the answer. The focus must be cutting emissions. But as my journey has shown, they can be difficult to avoid. After 103 days, travelling over 9,000 miles, I've produced the equivalent amount of CO2 it takes to make a low-cost laptop. In comparison, a flight from London to Santiago would have produced almost 2 tons of CO2 per passenger. I've made my calculations, and if one young tree is able to capture 6 kilos of CO2 in a year, I need to plant 56 saplings. The plan today is to plant an incredible 15,000 trees. This hill was completely deforested many years ago as the city expanded. Now, the citizens are reforesting with trees endemic to the area that will not only capture carbon, they will help restore the natural balance of native flora and fauna and create a cooler microclimate to counter heat waves.
And that is a tree planted.
There are hundreds of people planting trees.
Hola!
Hola. That's a really nice example of how, if everybody makes a little difference, you get a really big change.
Next day, the People's Climate Festival finally kicks off. It's made up of multiple events hosted around the city. There's talks, live music, installations, and even pioneering climate-saving technology.
Now this car is entirely solar powered.
Designed and built by local students, this solar-powered car has a top speed of 75 miles per hour.
I mean, this thing's a little solar wheeled rocket.
Wow! Despite my last-minute arrival, the tents have squeezed me onto their program, and my film is being played around the festival.
Thank you very much for coming. My name is James Levelle. I'm so excited to be here with you. I wanted to use my platform, I wanted to use film to help amplify the voices of young people across the world.
It's an honor to be invited and to participate, but what's really cool is that the film is showing all over the festival.
But to get the message out to the whole crowd, I need to get the film on the main stage, and the lineup is fully booked.
I need a miracle. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away in Madrid, the UN climate conference is underway, where one young woman is about to do something amazing.
Hi, I'm Clara Rivero from Fridays for Future Uruguay, and I'm here at the COP25 in Madrid to represent the Race for Future documentary filmed by James Levelle.
Back in Uruguay, Clara insisted I continue my mission to make young people's voices heard.
She is the perfect person to present the youth climate messages to the United Nations.
Back in Santiago, I try to talk my way onto the main stage.
It is the biggest platform I think I could ever hope for here in Chile. Yeah, a little nervous.
The organisers can't promise I'll get to go on, so I have to wait backstage and be ready.
Fingers crossed.
Vamos a ir de inmediato a ver a un invitado internacional.
Presentamos a James Levelle, por favor.
This is it.
You ready?
Ready to a little bit.
Finally, on the big stage in Santiago and at the UN Climate Conference in Madrid, it's time to deliver the youth climate messages.
Les presento los voces de los jóvenes.
Watching that film is the first time I've had the opportunity to really digest the enormity of this journey. 7 countries and over 100 days to make.
In a way, I've travelled over 9,000 miles to go backwards. Back to a younger me who believed I could change the world.
I've seen a planet in climactic and ecological meltdown, but I've also discovered a generation determined to fix this and leading by example.
We, the young people,
I have a message for politicians.
With the power of my future in your hands.
Like these young activists, with their passion, dedication, and creativity, I realise now we can turn this around.
Whoa!
The journey won't be easy. But if we take it together, there's a far brighter destination.
We work together to change the world.
open your heart, don't be afraid to feel, shatter the ego and come together.
And if you think it's just a dream, it is. But it's a dream we must all share to save our future.
The change is coming, whether you like it or not.
Because we are the future of this world and we need to save it. We're taking the power back.
Please help us, and if not, step aside.
Gracias, Chile.
Done it. I've done it. The voice of the young people has been delivered here in Santiago, and I couldn't be happier.